What is up, guys? This is the Zoostuber, and today I'm here with my review of The Walking Dead Season 5, Episode 4, titled Slabtown. Now, this episode was directed by Michael Stratezemis. I apologize if I pronounced his name wrong. He's usually one of the camera operators for The Walking Dead. You know, he controls the cameras. He's behind the camera, usually, and he's usually a second unit director. But today they gave him the directing reins. I believe he directed a couple other episodes, but I know this one for sure. I believe it was he directed The Killer Within, possibly. Let me check that out right now. Never mind, that was Guy Ferland. Okay, either way, he definitely has worked on The Walking Dead for a while, and I know he's definitely behind the director's chair today, or for this episode. And personally, although it's definitely not the best one of the season so far, and definitely not one of my favorites, I did not mind the episode. Now, this episode, it definitely relied on whether or not you liked Beth or you didn't. If you like Beth or you don't like Beth. Personally, I like Beth, so I enjoyed this episode. You can argue that, Beth's so annoying, I want her to leave and stuff. I don't necessarily think she's that annoying. Yes, Season 2 and the majority of Season 3, she was pretty useless, and she was quite annoying, and she was just basically an overused radio that no one really wanted to use, except for the people on the show. We didn't want her to sing. At least I didn't. But definitely, she had a full, in my opinion, she's had a full turnaround, much like Carol has. Carol went from being useless and pretty annoying, I think, to being arguably the most badass character in the show, one of the most badass characters in the show, and one of the most developed. Now, yes, you can argue Beth isn't as badass or as developed, but she is getting there. So you gotta kind of like, step back and be like, all right, she's definitely a better character than she was in Season 2. Everyone, I'll defend this show all day long, and this is just my opinions, so if you guys disagree with me, then let me know, and that's okay. I respect your opinions on this, but here's what I think. I think The Walking Dead, it's a phenomenal show. I don't think anyone's going to question, anyone with any logic is going to question that it's a phenomenal show. It's just, it's under such a microscope. And everyone freaks out when there's not a not so good episode or bad writing or something like that, because it's under such a microscope, when really, in reality, every other show out there, even Game of Thrones, tends to make the same mistakes. But The Walking Dead is under such a microscope because, it's labeled, the biggest most watched basic cable drama of all time and so forth. And yes, it's earned all those titles, but it's just, everyone's like, oh, was waiting for him to make a mistake so they can jump in and be a troll about it. But same, people are like, why is Beth alive? Beth is annoying. She's had bad character development. She's had plenty of character development. The people who complain about character development are the ones that are just action hogs. The ones who complain about all the action are people who just want character development. They want the drama, the melodrama. But you just can't please everyone. This is kind of coming off because I just saw a lot of negative reviews of this episode. I'm like, what are you people talking about? This is a great episode. Yeah, it was a mixture of old and a mixture of new, so a lot of people have mixed feelings. Like, this is just the same thing we've been seeing for the past couple seasons. There's a group of people, and they're jerks for the most part. And there's always the one or two nice people in there. But I thought, for this season, I look at it like season by season. So what if they did it another season? What they're doing works. People are still watching and so forth. And for the most part, people are loving it. So there's no reason to fix something that isn't broken. So yeah, they've done this before in other storylines, but I look at it season by season. This season, this was pretty fresh for me. We haven't seen Beth in a while, so there's that. We got to meet new characters, a new location. Yes, the premise is a little bit different, or a little bit similar to, obviously Terminus and Woodbury and so forth, but it's definitely the motives and the ideologies behind the White Crosses, which is what I'm going to call them, is a lot different than what we've seen before. We haven't seen this particular approach. You always got to give something back if you take, and so forth. It's you can argue it's an effective way to live life in the apocalypse, and you can argue it's not. I have not been able just to think about how I feel about the way they're running things there. I like Dr. Steven, or Steven whatever his name is. I liked him. He was the only him and Tyler James Williams are the only characters, including Beth, that I really liked in this episode. Officer Dawn Lerner, she did an alright job. I don't who plays her. Christine Woods. Alright, well, she did an alright job. I wasn't that much of a fan of of her character. She's kind of I found her annoying. Just the way that she was just running things and all that. Her character just rubbed me the wrong way. But that's just me. Anyway, this episode I enjoyed it. I thought the writing was very very well done. It was definitely a slower episode than what we've experienced. People all automatically, when you have 3 exciting episodes in a row and you have a slow one or a slower one, everyone's like, oh my god, why can't we have fast all season? Well, it's just not how really any TV show works. You gotta have moments to sit back, reflect on the last. If you have an episode like No Sanctuary, like 5 episodes in a row just like that, it's not as effective as I think people would think, because they're like, we want more action, fast pace, action, fast pace. But then it's like, you don't really get to absorb everything. These episodes, these slower episodes, it's really there to help you reflect on the events of the last episode, because usually there's a pattern. Whenever you have a fast-paced, action-oriented episode, the episode after is generally slower, so people can go back and reflect on those events and see how they're affecting each character. The Walking Dead does that very well, but a lot of people don't want to see it. A good example of this, No Sanctuary. Probably the most action-packed episode we've ever had in The Walking Dead. Episode 2, after that, Strangers, although it had some action moments, was a much, much slower episode, and we got to see a lot more character interaction amongst the group. It was more of a reflective episode. We got to see how everyone is dealing with the events of the previous episode and how they're all coming to terms together as a group with everything that's going on. So it's really need those episodes. The last episode, it was a pretty intense episode. It was intense. It wasn't as fast-paced as No Sanctuary, but it was intense, which really translates to feeling faster-paced than it really was. Now, this episode 4 is a weird episode since we're catching up with Beth, and doesn't really tie into the rest of the episodes that we've already had in the past 3 episodes. But you kind of get what I'm trying to say, right? Like, the slower episodes are necessary, because you would just get lost in the whole thing if it was just fast-paced, and you would fail. I think most people would miss the important key bits of dialogue and like key intimate character scenes that are thrown in there. We'd miss them if it was just berated with action and gore and violence. So they're necessary. That's just my stance on it. Anyway, I'm kind of going off on a tangent here. This episode, although, like I said, it's all slower, there were some pretty key moments in this episode. I think this is definitely the writers and the producers trying to show us that, yes, Beth has matured. She's not the little farm girl who wants to kill herself by cutting her wrists. And she's matured. She's grown up. She's hardened. She's gotten colder. She's ready to defend herself. Yeah, she had a little squeamish about the arm amputation. But come on, people. I'm seeing criticism of Beth for that too. Like, come on. Although she's like 27 in real life or something like that, she's supposed to be playing an 18-year-old girl. 18-year-old white girl. Alright, in normal life, she'd be drinking Starbucks, and all of a sudden, yeah, she's been in the apocalypse for like a year and a half, give or take, but I think most people are not going to get used to seeing arms get cut off. Like, oh yeah, that's no problem. I mean, yeah, Rick, because Rick and Daryl, they're in the thick of things every single day killing walkers. Beth was never really like that, so she hasn't gotten a chance to adjust to the violence as much as some of the other characters have. You have to take that into account. So I saw some complaining, oh, come on, Beth, man up, or something like that. Like, that's just not realistic. I should be okay with that. It's not realistic. Yeah, remember, she's an 18-year-old girl. Where was I? And besides that, I thought she held her own in this episode quite well. She's definitely not the best actor on the show, but she's not horrible or awful or even bad by any stretch. She definitely, I thought she carried the episode quite well. I definitely like Tyler James Williams as Noah. He's a great addition to the show, and I hope they keep him around for a while. I'm not going to get into too many spoilers, but I'm under the impression he's still alive. I could be wrong. We haven't heard anything in a few weeks, but I'm pretty sure he's still alive. And I liked him in Everyone Hates Chris, so I think he has potential to be a pretty cool character. So I'm excited for that. I'm really happy the creepy cop is gone. What was his name? Gorman? Was his name Gorman, or was it Cullen? I'm really forgetting his name. And on IMDb, it's listed as Cullen Moss, but I thought his name was Gorman in the show. I don't know. Either way, the creepy rapey cop, Glad he's gone. He was just heebie-jeebies. He was definitely a scumbag. So scumbags meet their end in the show quite well. I thought that Keisha Castle Hughes' character Amber was definitely underused. That's one of my gripes about it. It's like, oh, guest star Keisha Castle Hughes, and then she had like 2 lines, and then she was gone. I was like, oh, wait, she's already a walker. I feel like she probably had a lot more scenes, but they had to cut it due to time. So maybe, hopefully, in the Blu-ray release, we'll get some extended looks or deleted scenes or something like that. So that'll be cool. Because I thought her character had some potential, like Noah, to be another ally to Beth. Because the Doctor wasn't doing it for me, Dr. Stevens. I liked his character, but I thought, it's going to get old, just, these two, Beth and the Doctor, being buddies. So I'm happy they got rid of that. Or, I'm happy there's Noah now, because Amber's gone. There were times where I thought they were going to drag on scenes and that was a lot longer, but they didn't. I thought they cut off at the right time. You can argue, yeah, they were still pointless and slow, but it's all part... People need to realize, yes, it's a TV show, but they're trying to be realistic, and realistically, it's not going to be bang, 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 bang all the time. So if you don't like it, then don't watch the show. That's the way I see it. Then that's just me. I'm a diehard fan. I am blinded in my own... I like to be blinded to the fact that the show does occasionally make mistakes. So I'm definitely an unreasonable person when it comes to this. I'm not reasonable at all. It's like I see negative things being said about the show. I'm like, you're all wrong. You're just wrong. Even if you're right, you're still wrong. But that's just me. I talk about the show for a living. Well, not for a living, but I'm from YouTube here, so I don't like anything negative about it. But no one likes hearing their favorite show talked about in a negative light. But I'm sure some of you agree, some of you disagree. It doesn't matter either way. Leave a comment down below and we can have a calm discussion about it. Calmly. So, yeah, this episode, I'm going to give this episode a 3.5 out of 5. That is kind of low considering I do usually give these episodes 4s and 5s and yada yada. But, that's mainly, I'm sure this review, the rating will probably change in my head as the series goes on. Just as of now, based on the previous 3 episodes we've got of Season 5, I'm going to give this episode a 3.5 out of 5. Wasn't a bad episode, but definitely not my favorite. And now, let me add this. As a whole season so far, I'm giving the whole season a 5 out of 5, because this season so far has been great. And next week's episode, what's it called now? Self-Help. Yeah, the episode titles have changed. I'll do a video on that later today. But Self-Help, episode 5 of season 5 is next week, and that looks pretty awesome. Definitely going to be another solo-esque episode. It looks like it's going to be just Abraham's group, but I remember from the Comic-Con trailer that it looks like there's a scene where Rick is with them at some point, maybe towards the end of the episode. We'll have to wait and see about that. I'll do a video on my predictions and so on. I'll dive farther into that. But thank you guys for watching. I know this is kind of a lengthy review more so than I usually do, but a longer video for a change, right? I average like a 2.5, 3-minute video usually, so this is a nice change, I suppose. I'll be back at you guys later with the official pictures that have been released for next week's episode, as well as several videos throughout the week having to do with next week's episode, as well as any news or theories and spoilers that come across my path. And for those of you who missed my last Dead Talk video, I do have a cool little TZ t-shirt here. I'm sure some of you have already seen it. But I'm working on getting this on my store so you guys can go buy it. Hopefully it'll all be finalized by holiday season. So, if you want to get someone a Christmas present or a Hanukkah present or whatever your deal is, then TZ t-shirt. Alright guys, this has been the ZeusTuber. Remember to rate, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys later with another video.